PhD program. Now, are you seeing a theme here? I didn't plan to do any of these things. Life happened, things happened, people happened. So I started applying to a PhD program at the University of Memphis. It's the only program I applied to. Hearings on the way down, and I'm like, well, the only way I can continue to function as an audiologist is maybe in a teaching capacity, maybe do some research. So I applied. I get called in for an interview. I fly to Memphis, and I meet all the professors. But one of the things I had to do was turn in some samples of my writing from graduate school. Now, every single one of them had A's on it. Okay. Give that to the guy who's going to be my eventual research advisor. And he looks at my stuff, and he sets it down, gets his glasses off, and folds his hands and looks at me and says, Sam, the one thing that's potentially keeping you out of this program is you're not a very good writer. What? I just gave you samples of my writing. All of them have A's on it. He says, hold on now. Let's talk about this. He says, yes, you got A's on your papers. The problem is, I think, and it's completely theoretical, it's completely hypothetical, I think you have had teachers in your life who kind of relax the expectations on you. In other words, well, Sam has a hearing loss, Sam has a disability, so I'm going to go easy on him. So for Sam, this is good enough. Nobody's ever said that to me before. So I'm like, so am I in or out? I mean, I have no idea what's going on. He says, Sam, you're in, you're accepted. But when you come here this fall, you will write and write and write and write and write and write. In fact, every email you send will be grammatically and syntactically correct. Okay. Every email I sent to my friends thought I was being stuck up. Now I'm this PhD student, and now I have to be snotty about it, and I had to explain, no, my research advisor is telling me I need to write, because apparently I don't write really well, and that maybe it's because of having hearing loss, and it's maybe having teachers who didn't make me rise to the standards. And so it really forced me to write. And last year, after having 5 research publications come out, my advisor told me, you actually write better than me. Okay, so it took this one person to challenge me. He knew I had it in me, but nobody had ever challenged me in that way before. So, so I go through the PhD program, kind of okay. First year, still struggling. One of my professors, some of you may know, Dr. Robin Cox. She's originally from Australia, so she has that British accent. I could not understand her to save my life. And I'm trying to learn about hearing aids, more about hearing aids, that I haven't had the heart to tell her that she's the reason why I finally pursued a cochlear implant. Maybe one day I will. So it was the summer of 2001. I'm looking for a place to go and get my cochlear implant. I contacted Shea Clinic here, and by no means am I bashing on Shea Clinic, but the audiologist who tested me very well knew that I was a PhD student in audiology, and she did a very poor job. I don't think she's there anymore. But I was like, are you kidding me? And you're going to base your criteria for candidacy on your results. So needless to say, I just didn't go back to Shea. But I also called a clinic in Atlanta. They only had one cochlear implant that they were doing, and that was Cochlear. And am I hearing feedback?
No, it's a child.
I also contacted House Ear Clinic in Los Angeles, and that's where my aunt lives. And that's where she learned about cochlear implants, because House Ear Institute was one of the first centers in the entire world to do this kind of work. So I called them, I called the company, the different companies, and so I'm just like, you know what? My aunt is the one who suggested this in the first place, so I'd like to at least honor her by going to do the implant surgery and all that in Los Angeles. So what I also didn't mention was my aunt was willing to pay for the whole thing. So I go out to her house here, I have everything tested, sure enough I'm a candidate. I go back in July of 2001, I get the surgery. I go back again in August of 2001 for the initial mapping. And that experience was horrendous. By horrendous, it was going from having some hearing to no hearing to having some hearing but not being able to understand anything. You know, with my hearing aids, I can tell the difference between a male's voice and a female's voice. With this new implant, I couldn't tell if my aunt was talking, my dad was talking, my audiologist was talking, or if a dog was barking. So I was like, is this what it's going to be like? So some of you are probably thinking, what is my kid here? Well, probably that initially.